So I found myself recently paging through Twitter, now dreadfully known as X. Yes, I know there are far better ways I could spend my time, but there I was paging away, and I was just about to quickly pass a photo when I literally froze in place. I stopped breathing, for right there was a photo with a face that I will never forget. The caption under the photo said it was from Paris, 1922, 100 years ago. That's all the information it had. No names, no events, just Paris, 1922. I kept arguing with myself back and forth, asking how it could be possible. For right there, in the back row of the photo, was my old friend from childhood. I would know him anywhere, at any time. I would never forget his face, because I loved him. But there was one small problem. We hadn't been born yet. What was he doing in a photo from 1922? How did he get there? Now, I want to point out that it wasn't just a similarity. It was him, down to the very last detail. That broad smirk, the square jaw, the big ears, the messy bangs. It was all him, exactly as he was, exactly as I remembered him. We had long ago lost contact with one another because that's how it was in those days. When I was growing up, there was no internet and no texting. Once you moved away from someone, the only contact you had was handwritten letters, as our parents would never allow a long-distance phone call. And eventually the letters would just stop, and we would move on with life. Now and then, I had heard that he'd come to a strange end, but I never got many details from people. And to tell the truth, to be honest, I had simply forgotten about him. It had been a long time. 40+ years will do that to you. And yet, here he was, exactly as he had always been. The only exception was that it was 1922, and he was not supposed to be alive yet. I've often wondered about the combinations that nature makes of our faces when we are in the womb. I mean, there are only so many combinations she can make, right? And there has to be some sort of repeating, I would think. I mean, I think that's why we see people who look familiar to us, but we don't know them. This was different, though. This was not a somewhat familiar face. This was not a similarity. This was my friend in exact detail. Should I chalk it up to a coincidence? I don't think so. I just couldn't. I kept staring at that photo, mesmerized by his face. No, it was not a coincidence. It was definitely him. Somehow, he was there in 1922, and then there again, at the same age, in the 1960s and 70s. Now, I do believe wholeheartedly that we return to this earth again and again. We start over with each new life, but we're the same person. I used to think we'd start over as the same person, but in a different body. Lately, though, I've begun to think that we come back as the same person in the same body. And those bodies go out and find the same people they associated with in past lives, so that we all play out the drama again and again. Maybe until we get it perfect and move on to another realm. I don't know. Or maybe that's all the computer simulation we live in has to offer us. It was the same with my friend Diane. We went everywhere together and did everything together in our early 20s. She was so much fun. We had such a great time. Working together during the week, partying on the weekends, dragging our boyfriends everywhere under the sun. But again, as happens when you move away and you don't have the internet or texting, you eventually lose touch. And that is what happened to us. The letters became fewer and further between until they dwindled down to yearly or even every other year, and then they just stop. But I never stopped thinking of her as one of my best friends. She'd pop into my mind now and then, and I'd always smile, thinking about all of our crazy antics in the past. At about age 27, she got stomach cancer. I had already moved away by the time that happened, but she beat it and remained cancer-free for about 20 more years. And then one night, she was driving home from a quick trip to the store. She got in a fatal car accident and died at the scene. I didn't even learn about it until a few years after it had happened, and I hung my head in shame at not having known. Then, several years later, I went into a Walmart, and there was Diane, working in one of the aisles. I almost couldn't breathe when I saw her. I hid behind a pole and tried to get a good long look at her without being seen myself. I probably looked crazy, but I didn't care. She ended up walking away, but that wasn't the end of it, because I kept seeing her in the store every time I went. She looked as I imagined she would have looked, being aged 25 more years since the last time I saw her. Same height, same hair, same smile, just 25 years older. Well, this went on for a while. I'd see her in the store, sometimes follow her around, trying not to make myself too obvious, and then one day it happened. She entered the store as a customer instead of an employee and bumped right into me as I was entering. She laughed and apologized and kept going. It was not Diane's voice, but everything else was Diane. This time, I had the chance to see her up front and personal. My face 3 feet from hers, maybe, the farthest. I mean, we were close. It was Diane, except for the voice. The only problem was that Diane had died several years ago in a faraway place. How did she get back here alive? Part of me wanted to run after her, strike up a conversation, and try to become friends with her, but I knew how crazy that would look. Instead, I just stared after her and watched as she walked away and disappeared down an aisle. It was Diane. You know, as I said, there are only so many facial combinations Mother Nature can come up with, so it stands to reason that eventually she will repeat herself. But an exact duplicate? We're told that no two snowflakes are alike. In all this world, with all the trillions upon trillions of snowflakes that have fallen, none are alike. So how is it that someone can look exactly in every detail like someone else who has died, yet we can still have unique snowflakes? I don't think so. I think the original person comes back again and again. The older I get, the more I believe this. That's probably because the older a person gets, the more people die and life gets shuffled up, and we get thrown together with another new batch of the same old people. But I think we really come back. So here we all are, and here we all are again. An acquaintance of mine recently died at the end of 2022. It was a turbulent relationship at best. I did everything in my power to be kind and decent to this person, who frankly did not deserve my kindness. But I did it in hopes of paying off some karmic debt, so that we would not have to meet again in another life. See, at this point, I already believed that we reincarnate in the same body with the same people century after century. I guess I was trying to settle an old score and hoping that I had paid enough. If I live long enough in this life, maybe I'll find out if he comes back soon. If I don't see him around, I'll take it as a good sign. If I do, well, the saga continues then. Hopefully, when I return in another life, though, it will have been enough. That is my hope. Does that sound crazy to you? Look around. Look at the faces that surround you. There are people you know, yet you have never met. There are people here who shouldn't be here, but they are here. The next time you see someone who reminds you of someone in your distant past, take another good, long look. It may actually be that same person. And if you catch someone staring at you, giving you a strange, faraway look, it may very well be that you are the ghost, and they are from your past life. Where does it all lead? I don't know. Some say we come back again and again, so we can improve ourselves before we go back to God. They say this earth is just a learning place, like a classroom of life. Here we learn how to be better people, kinder beings. We come back until we are ready for the next challenge somewhere else. Of course, that doesn't explain how we keep coming back to the same people in the same dance. But perhaps we are all permanently tied together in some way. I don't know. These are all things I just think about. Maybe we're all already ghosts, and all of this life we're experiencing is just a leftover energy imprint.